What if you could get paid $5,000 to make Hollywood-level trailers from your bedroom without spending a dime on gear? No FX3, no lighting rigs, just your laptop, a browser, and the right guidance. Jamie Heinrich has built the perfect ecosystem for creatives, where you can learn AI filmmaking, make an ROI from running them as ads, and get paid by serious clients. If your content isn't converting, clients aren't coming, and your rates are stuck, this is the shift that you've been waiting for. Thousands are already doing it, and you're still early to the game. So now, it's your turn.
Hey, Jamie, welcome. And I'm super excited to hear about this new community that you're building, the AI Film Hiring Room. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, Mike. Thanks for having me again.
Mhm.
Appreciate it. Um, and yes, so this new community was somewhat in demand, as I had a lot of let's see, there's two things here. Some people were interested in hiring, which isn't allowed in my communities, which is really important. It keeps the environment non-competitive. It holds, it makes members feel like they're in a trusted learning environment, and it's just a different energy when it comes to jobs, posting jobs, hiring, that sort of nature. So the first reason was to have a great place to do that, where that energy can be present and those kind of transactions can go down,
Right.
because it is in demand for a lot of people. And then, a lot of people that even would come into the community to learn and realize they don't have the time. And then, they need the product for their businesses. So then they want to go, hey, maybe I can, fish out of here, and that's not allowed or whatever. So it just kind of constrains them, and so there needs to be a good, safe environment where they're able to do that. And now that I have, over 8,000 members in one of my communities, that are just creating and learning, there's enough of a trust factor there, to create a safe space where they can offer their services. And then in my other community, it's more focused on the marketing, and in attracting clients. And in that community, I'm showing people how to attract leads through the work they do by putting it out there and staying in the driver's seat, and not having to depend on looking for work, instead attracting it to themselves by putting good work out there, and attracting the right clients and buyers to come in and say, hey, I would love to, I love your work, and I would love to use your services to scale my business, or whatever they're looking for. um, and then the bottleneck there was, dealing with the transactional of having all these leads and having to figure out how to, follow up, and CRMs and all that stuff that I didn't want to get involved with. And realizing that, this could offer for both of my communities, it's like a middle ground, where people can thrive, with the skill sets, but also, it also helps support when I show, them looking at the skills that I'm show and telling. They're able to come over to a place where they can, where they have access to buyers, and ones that I can attract myself to and put in this room. So that's the next step I'm doing this week. Yeah, which we can talk about in a second, whatever. But
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, that I'm so glad that you started this because even though I'm not a creator, I'm actually probably going to be more on the buying side. So I'm
yeah,
super excited that as I'm doing ads, there was that missing piece, and it feels like, oh, this was so needed because I can go in there now and I can look through what people are doing and go, oh, I'd like to have something like that. Let me engage with that person and talk to them. And I can see how there was the other thing that I really liked about it, just from a person that's learning point of view in other communities that I've seen that are really successful. I think this is even going to drive more people to the beginning and learning because now they can see, oh, you have the whole system, like all the way to I can actually make money doing this, like, and you're going to help them learn how to make money doing this. This is like huge for me.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about the accountability factor as a beginner going into a hiring room as well. And if you're making spec work, um, and showcasing some of your skills, even as a beginner, there's also there's some clients, businesses, buyers that could also, some of these beginners are probably willing to work gratis as well, just to have some sort of like reason for and purpose for what they're creating, and it gets them activated and accountable and finishing projects, which
Yeah.
at first I was thinking there should be only, where do I set where do I set the thresholds here, and how much are people charging, and they should only charge this and keep it. And what I realized is that, it's not up to me to control anything, and I don't want to control anything, and I don't have time to control anything. I have no desire at all, and that's what held me back from doing it. And so I thought, well, what if I don't control anything at all? I just set some standards because it's under my, roof, and I'm, it's very it's referral based in a sense, being that, um people that are joining, they already trust me, and they trust what my work and my sort of environments that I'm creating. And there's a lot bigger asset in that than there is, anybody, just any Joe Schmo starting a community, and saying, well, I can just connect people. And y- y- there's a lot to that, and that is the foundation of the community, is that, the people in it, they're under a certain energy, a certain vibe that is under my energy, and they're the ones moderating. It's the community that moderates. So if you show up at a party and you're the guy that, or the gal that is w- weird, standing out, not, has bad energy, whatever, people just kind of pick you up and remove you. And that's what will, you know, that's where I realized, well, it goes across the board with, the postings, and as well as, well, I should just say the postings. There's only two categories, um and I mean, we can
Yeah.
also talk about that next, but yeah.
Yeah. What's funny is when because you did tell me about this before you launched it. And I remember my first thought was, got to go agency to got to keep it all ordered, got to keep control.
Yeah.
And it was funny because that's where my mind went with it. And I think that's where most people will go. But as usual, you break the mold again, and you're like, I'm not going to control anything, but I'm going to give people access. And if people aren't following the rules, and it'll kind of have a life of its own.
Hmm.
And if people aren't acting right and behaving right, they're just out. And you give free reign. It's like so opposite of what I thought it should be. And when I
Yeah.
went in there, I went, oh, this is way better than what I thought it should be.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, because I got to look at everybody's work. Um,
Hmm.
whereas the way I had envisioned how it should be, like, would be an agency where I don't want these people to talk to these people. I want to be the middleman and make it happen.
Right.
Because what if they go around me and all this other
Yeah.
stuff? But you take all that away and you just say, pay this low monthly amount, and you can talk to anybody you want. That like changes everything.
Hmm. Yeah. And the one thing is, at first it was a little tricky to go, well, what do you charge? You want to keep a certain, standard with the buyer as well as the creator. And but I realize that, it's a lower ticket, but it's just as long as it's something, because if you're charging something, you're in a safe place because everyone's there with good intent. They paid, they're serious to be there. They have intention in general, let's just say. We're all on the same intention. Now from there, um it's it's it it is up to the environment to, the standard I set at first, instead of even having rules, it's just two things. It's either good energy, bad energy.
Mm,
If you have good energy, you can be in there and pretty much, be talking about anything. And I'm fine with that, because what happens is in school, which is fascinating, that I've learned by having these communities for the last year and just being in them every day, is, in human behavior and all that, is what happens is people come in, and you're going to go and do a post, right? So you're getting ready and you go and do your post. And what you don't realize is it's a big deal to do a post, because you're outing yourself. It's to some degree, it's your name. It's got your profile. You're a person. And even if you're an avatar, you're still an avatar. You still exist in a sense. And so what happens is people are going to either like or they're going to comment on your post. That's just how people interact, right? So, and what happens is when you do a post, and this might sound simple, but it is kind of fascinating. If you get more likes and you get more comments, you're going to move up in the algorithm on the feed.
mhm,
Um, and so this is how I moderate, is I'm just gauging activity, right? So if someone posts something, it's got great energy, okay, and then if it's on par and people are like, that was a great project, it suits this community, it's great to see. If it's, getting a lot of comment, a lot of activity, a lot of comments, a lot of likes, and people seem to be responding to it well in that environment, it's just going to move up and it's going to continue to get more and more and more. And now you're shown in the community, and you have face value for being in there,
yeah, that's
which is the way it should be.
yeah,
Okay. So, and it's the same for a buyer too. If a buyer does something, it's, and for one, the biggest rule is no spam. You can make one post a day, no more than that, from a buyer or a creator. And from there, if you're not getting activity, you're going to get buried, you're going to get pushed down. If some of us see, like there's a lot of people, this one guy keeps posting or one gal keeps posting and there's no activity, it's just kind of some BS, some bullshit, it's whatever. I'll just kick him out. It's
mm,
just, there's no warnings, I mean, really, it's just like, people don't auto correct. When you warn somebody, it's very easy. You see how people do things over and over, and if they're off on a bad start, they're not gonna, just, turn into a different person, like down the road or whatnot. So anyways, so yeah, I leave it up to the algorithm and the activity. So your goal with joining the group is really to, be thoughtful about what you're posting, and it'll go a long way to make a post get a lot of activity. It's going to live long, and if I see a post has a lot of activity, then I will pin it. So the goal is to get pinned.
yeah, yeah. And one thing that I thought was interesting is my first thoughts were people are going to bid themselves down to the bottom. And then I went in and I started seeing some good work. And then if you talk to the people that are doing the good work, then you're like, wait, I want this person, but they're going to get snatched up and they're going to get filled up like their work. And you're like, wait, I want that person. So it actually is the opposite of what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, as a buyer, you're like, you're feeling like a seller, or if you're
Yeah,
a seller, you're feeling like a buyer. And that's good energy, because
it
you're
really
feeling like, it's a great environment where it creates demand. And that's what we want. We want to feel demand. We want to feel the value, I guess. And if you feel value, you want it. And then you're thinking, well, I could be, I'm a buyer. I can kind of pick and choose. It's like, well, no, I mean, they might, if they're doing something good, yeah, there's other buyers in there that will, just like you said, like, and what about, what are they offering them, and this and that. So,
Yeah.
and I encourage people to just go ahead and talk transparently in the comments too. And I think that'll come later, where it's like make offers in the comments. Like, that's fine. We don't need to create competitive, and we don't need to create bidding wars, um but you can't, everything's transparent. So you can't be, and if people go, and there's things I can't control, and I think that's why I don't want any control, because if I try to create control, like, well, yeah, people are going to go and do jobs outside of the community and all that. And I'm like, great, I've done my job. They paid and they came in connected. What, for me, that's very valuable to me, because I don't do anything but connect good, trusted people. And they're going to want to stick around because there's new people coming in all the time. It's up to me to create that value of relationship. That's my job in it, is to put good people, good trusted people together, which is really business in general, as you know, Mike. It's all business is relational, and everything's word of mouth at the end of the day. So now that school has such an amazing ecosystem that's being built between groups and leaders and this and that and communities, and um it's super valuable to get a lot of people in the same room, and a lot of trust.
And what I just, when I look at it's so funny because after, yeah, sure, now it's out there and you did it and it is the way it is, but that is not the way everyone would do it. It's like,
Yeah.
it's, it, now it looks so simple. And I urge people that even if they're not into if they're not totally into AI ads yet, they will be. I would say come and experience this community and see what's going on. Like, uh, it doesn't cost that much to go in and test it out and see what it is, because it's not your thinking methodology. I'm thinking right now, like for entrepreneurs in general, what you're presenting here is something that you don't see very often, what you just described. And I think of my community and I think of just that thinking. There's some changes that I need to make in my community to be
Yeah.
more like that. And
Yeah.
it's just really interesting how you're just running this. It's like a proof for people to come look at. And you've done that on each one of your communities. So just speaking to the entrepreneurs out there that are watching this, definitely there's a school of thought through this to see how it works, because it's obviously working. You have thousands of people in there and the energy is good.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
leave that note for some people. And if there's something else, and then I had some questions that are more entrepreneurial coming up. If there's something else you want to describe about that.
Yeah. The last thing I'm going to say about that, is, for one, it is, it was a science experiment for me. It is. I mean, it's only been launched for, a week now or whatever. But, um, the two things is, the first thing is, there's going to be, I've already had some people come to me asking about like a bridge, like a service between the buyer and the creator, like for instance, contracts,
Mm-hmm.
or someone like Tim, who's got his services when it comes to, like, the meta side of things, meta
Technical.
meaning ads managers and whatnot, which both clients and creators and agencies or whatever use. And so what I'm realizing is, I'm open to services that bridge between the two. Just like your services, Mike. It's the closing of the sale. Like, that's a huge service that both creators and buyers need. They know how, creators need to know how to communicate with the buyers to close the deal. And I'm sure you have a lot of knowledge for buyers as well, that could help with the hiring part of the creator and whatnot. So I'm looking at it like this, if you have a particular service that you can come and inject yourself in, that helps that transaction,
Yeah.
I'm stepping back and going, hey, if you're a good trusted person, you have great energy. There's people that need you in there to, and so this could expand to a much bigger market than just the AI film,
Oh yeah,
sort of
see it.
hiring. It could just be the hiring room eventually,
Yeah, because I'm in other groups and I work with because I'm in sales. As soon as I teach people how to close the deal and they're like, "Oh, this isn't as hard or as scary as I thought it was." The very
Yeah.
next thing is, "Okay, now how do I get more people to close?" So the next step is how to get the ads running and how to set up the technical side of it. And Tim is really good with that. So you've got that piece, and I even help people with some of that part too. But what I'm saying is
Yeah.
because I have that experience and I can see how going into the hiring room, knowing that if someone has a really good creative mind and they can create this stuff, usually they don't want to close deals. And so they might want some help. And so
Yeah.
we've talked about that. And so yeah, if there is anyone in there that wants help, I can either help them or help guide them to the right place to make that so much easier. And I could see
Yeah.
that in there might be agencies that come in that live in there, right, looking for people and matching. But
Right.
yeah, it's a great space that you've made. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it is really about being in a trusted environment with people you recognize, people that are referred. There's one gal that came in and I haven't met her, but then, she made a post about something and then Tim on the call says, "Oh my God, I work with her. She's amazing. She was the best person to work with," right? This was behind the scenes as we're on one of the live calls in one of my other communities. And so I go back to the group and then I glaze her a bit too. I'm like, "Tim said she's amazing. Like, it's nice to meet you." I meet her in that group. And here we go. Now we're building this huge network of people that are, that have to stand behind their
Yeah,
word too, because in school you can't hide, you can't do a bad job, or do something um toxic and then just pretend like it never happened, because you're just going to go somewhere else and get a new client or get hired by someone else. It's like there's reputation here
right.
and accountability, and I think that's just like I have the reputation and accountability, especially when you have thousands of people that are now, looking at what you do and are listening to you, and the best thing I can do is just be open and honest and transparent. And that's what I learned when I started these. I didn't, when I started school, is like, well, my fail safe is just to be myself and be honest. And if I do that, I will always be okay, no matter how large I grow. um and that's really what people want, more than anything, more than the skills. They really just want to feel like they can, like, it's community, it's people. So
The the one thing I was thinking about, and that was for the for the artist and the buyer. I don't know if you have clarity around. Maybe each deal is a little different, but how have you worked with these in the past? Where so someone comes in and they say, "Oh, I want an ad made," and then you have the creative. What's that process like? Is there storyboards, or is it like just trust me, I'm going to get this done, or uh, is there
yeah,
is there
it's
some advice
both,
you can give
really.
to people?
It could be anything. It's really up to the creator, and I think that's where it gets super dynamic, and that's where you just step back. For me, I step back and I say, hey, look, everyone has different processes. Sometimes, and sometimes the buyer, it wants the storyboards, they want the contracts, they want the timelines, they want, and then, okay, great, go with John, or go with Sally, like whatever. That's the person you want. Some will say, hey, here's the money, I don't want anything, just deliver it, I need it done in 2 days. Who's the wolf? Who's the guy that gets this done and knocks it out in 2 days?
Right.
And it's like, oh, you should talk to, don't talk to Sally, talk to Jim, whatever. And I think that's where the word gets out quick, and that's how it should be. For myself, I work a certain way. If I deal with a client,
Mm.
I have a certain way, and it's up front, it's the money up front, it's this, that, it'll be delivered fast. Everyone works, some people work on time frames. I
Right.
work on projects. So there's a person for everybody, and that's the environment to have it, which is way more important than to be like, okay, here's the template, here's how it works in here. That would just not work. It'd be way too rigid. So
Okay.
uh
Yeah. So it's kind
yeah.
of, yeah. So I think the message there in that question, and you answered it, but I'm just make sure I heard it right, is know how you want to operate your business and stay true to yourself. And if
100%. Yeah.
if someone is trying to make a deal with you and it doesn't feel right, that's not the way you want to do it, then don't do that. Don't work with that person because you will find
You
people
have
that want to work your way.
There's a ton of options. Yeah, and that's the point, is to have a place where where all that is accessible. So what you do is what you put out is what you get back. So if you're a buyer, you make a post, you say, "Hey, this is what I'm looking for. I need something done in 6 days. Here's my brief. Here's this, that." I mean, it's a somewhat of a job posting, but
Yeah.
it's more about talking with people and not just making a post on, on these random Upwork platforms or whatever, and just hoping for the best, and who knows who's what. You don't know anybody. It's very foreign. It's just uh yeah, it's just a place where, people can pair up quickly. And what you put out in your post is what you're going to get in return, because certain people that work certain ways aren't going to respond to your post as a buyer. If you're like, this is how I work, this is
Right.
what I'm comfortable with. I'm looking for someone that wants to go on a contract, and you can even put the amount your budget is. Like,
Yeah.
there are, the transparency should be, I encourage full transparency, and a lot of people are scared of that. I'm like, we're already being recorded. We're already being, like, my car's recording everything right now, anyways, inside and out. It's like there's no secrecy here anymore in this world. Like, let's just
Oh
be
yeah.
transparent and open. And so there's nowhere to hide. So you might as well just, do the best you can, be flawed, and have good relationships and do the best work you can, and it is what it is. People post things, and that's what it is.
When we look at you, we're looking at this last year and we're going, man, that guy's like an overnight success. And I'm just wondering if you want to share, can you share a little bit
Mhm.
about your story? Was it an overnight success? How would you
Yeah.
describe that story? Because
um
people struggle, right? We're as entrepreneurs, we're getting stuck and we're wondering, did you ever think that this might not work?
yeah. So, okay, so anybody can do this. Most won't, statistically, because it takes consistency. And for me, it was, yeah, I started school, back in October, and I stopped for 3 4 months, and I came back to it. Um, I wouldn't say I failed. I mean, it was a success to, like, I went all in for a couple months, and then I had to, go back to some other businesses to focus on for income and whatnot. And then I came back, and when I came back, the difference that I did with school, which applies to anything in life, is I went all in.
Mm,
I burned the ships. I all the bridges, everything. I I turned off all my other sources of income and my businesses and everything. Um, it was really difficult, really scary. And I was at rock bottom at that time too, which I think kind of, forced me into that, which I'm grateful for, because I didn't have the options of, well, I can just kind of dabble with this some more, and, keep living off of, my investments or my other stuff, whatever. I kind of hit a point of rock bottom, and I said, which gave me an extreme amount of focus,
mm,
and meaning I didn't have the options. My kids had just moved up to Lake Tahoe. I didn't even have, I didn't have the option to go see them, regularly for months, because financially and everything, I didn't have the option. And this was last year, and I've gone from, I've honestly gone from rock bottom to a large, uh, seven figures moving through my bank accounts back down to zero to, this is kind of how I've swung throughout my life. And I needed a behavioral change, when it came to finances. And so anyways, you know, if as an entrepreneur, I think there's, this whole thing, oh, get up, do a cold shower, do 100 push-ups, do run, all these things. And it's like, yes, I believe that, but what I had to even stop, I even put my exercise off for a second too, because I had to fix my business, my financial situation, and I chose school. So it's not, I don't give credit to school. I love school and I love Sam Ovens and the platform and everything. But what I gave credit for is I did 100% of my focus went into this system. And I trusted myself, which was the biggest thing I did. I said everything's going to be okay, which I wasn't sure of for a while, and I was unsure of things with myself. And so, trusting yourself is, to just say, hey, I'm going to be. I truly believe everything's going to be okay, and I do trust myself. And then that enabled me to let go,
Mm.
to reduce the stress, and to and it provided me the best thing, the most valuable thing, which was patience, which you feel you don't have sometimes as an entrepreneur, because you got to have stuff happen tomorrow, or right now, today, tonight,
Right.
because well, what about with my expenses and this and that and that, and you throw kids in. I have 4 kids. You throw all that in the mix too, and it can, it sets a fire, but the stress will not help, right? So it'll keep you seized up. So anyways, patience. I let go. I started saying no to everything that before I would say yes to, because I felt like I was in survival mode, and I said no, 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 no. This is it. This is the best I can do. I'm okay with it. Immediately everything started to line up, and that's what created, I went from, I mean, I to be honest with you, Mike, I took $100 that I had, and I scaled that, from really the $100 I had at that moment during that month, with no other assets, zero assets.
Wow.
And so yeah, it's an overnight success, but it's not overnight, because this was built upon years of the fluctuation and everything else. And now I operate the same way I did on that day that I turned and let go and trusted and did the reps. And I do the same things every morning. I write down every single, handwrite all my numbers. And no matter what, no matter if I've had a rough night, I've been, whatever's going on, it happens because I guess I have a level of appreciation and,
It,
and
I,
gratitude and everything else. And it's like, that's what gets you there. Just do the reps,
so
and say
what
no
I
to everything.
what I heard that resonates with me with that is it definitely was not a straight line. And it
No.
definitely it's like I've heard of many times it takes 20 years to become an overnight success. So you have
Yeah.
years in the business and the ups and the downs, and then you got to the point where it was like no to everything, yes to one thing, and I'm going with it. And I can relate to that so many times, and I'm actually doing it again right now where I'm building my community, and I must have had I have multi-million dollar deals coming at me all the time. And I'm almost always saying, "Yeah, let me look at that." And I noticed that I just got completely bogged down in 20 directions, and I finally just said no to everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like this is going to be a great year for what I'm working on, just because I'm relating to exactly what you're saying, where I'm like, no, and I'm not doing it for money because I have made a bunch of money, but the concept is the same.
Yeah.
Where you were saying, because I would sit there and go, oh, yeah, I can do this and I can do that. And pretty soon I'm going nowhere fast.
Nowhere. Yeah.
And so I'm like, I just had to
It's
go
all
through
relative.
all
Yeah.
of that and then come back to what am I, what do I want to be good at? Or what am I good at? What do I want to be known for? How do I want to help people? And it's exactly what you're doing. And I'm just like, that's why I'm such a fan of, like what you're doing on each one of your communities. It's the same thing. It's
Yeah.
so narrow focused. And I really like that for entrepreneurs to hear that message. And if they're grinding, you kind of went over this. If it feels like a grind, it might be because you're grinding in too many directions, right? Find that one.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of the word grind can mean many things. I mean, grinding is grinding, but
Right.
grinding at one thing, at, the eating an elephant is, that's you're going to eventually consume the elephant. And that's, but, grinding in 60 different directions is also grinding. And that's, and then you're stuck in the middle and you're going nowhere. Um, so yeah, it's definitely, the other really biggest thing is getting 100% honest with yourself
Mhm.
is really the forefront of that. Meaning laying out all your numbers, um, looking at, just put everything on paper, everything, all your debts, all your expenses, like your business numbers. Just be honest with yourself and face all of it at once. And when you do, you realize that it's not so scary anymore, and you can sleep at night and everything else. And anything's manageable, and then if you have patience, you move what's important now, what's important now, what's important now. And before you know it, you look back and everything starts to work out. And then all of a sudden, the opportunities come to you. You're not chasing them anymore. They just, they show up right in front of you, and you have great ideas, and it's good, and you just execute. And there is a science to it for sure. It's not easy though. Yeah.
Yeah. And so more of maybe the philosophy side of it, wondering your thoughts on this, because people argue go after like what's needed in the world or follow your passion. Do you have how did you approach that?
I think it's okay, it's solving what's needed in the world through your passion.
Gotcha.
So,
Combo.
but it's like your passion is what gets you out of bed,
Hmm.
and that should be what you always focus on. But that skill set of that passion, there's a skill set to it. You need to find what the market's demand is, and what the market, what you can use that skill set as, that solves a pain point in the market. Because the market there's always a market,
Yeah.
always. So there's no such thing as oversaturation and all this, don't watch the news, don't that's all marketing too, right? But the market, meaning there's always a trend, there's always a demand. And now with AI, you can just ask AI you know what's the greatest pain point that people will want solved right now, and will like do anything, pay anything to solve, based on this niche, or
Right.
this sub niche or whatever. And it'll just tell you, because it'll scan the entire globe, and it'll just say this is what it is, and this is what people are actually. And so you take your skill set that you're passionate about and use that to solve that one pain point, but only solve that one pain point.
Hmm.
Don't try to solve everything, because people won't pay for that. They just want to get rid of their headache. They don't need to, like, they're not going to pay you to find happiness for $5 a month. They're going to say, use $5 for the Advil at the gas station. I can move on with my life. So that's really how you get cold traffic in the door. I know I'm going down a road here, but it really is like, that's the one thing I discovered is it's not that you need to reinvent the wheel and figure out, how am I going to be special and everyone's going to want what I do and whatnot. You just find what people want, and now with AI, leverage that, because leverage that kind of intelligence. And if you don't know how to solve it, use AI to solve it, and you can just be the channel. You could just say, what would an expert do to solve this problem? Now you have the information because you looked it up on chat, and now you can just channel that. And people might go, hey, this guy, obviously I'm doing something I'm passionate about, is filmmaking, and but I've been told I'm good at it. I feel like the skill set's there, but there's also other people that are just, carbon copying what I do as well, and they're having great success too. They're just being me. They're just stealing my stuff and modeling it. And I'm also, I see him every day. People send me him every day in the communities, and for me, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that, because like, what a blessing to have people wanting to copy you, that you've done something right. And it's free marketing for me as well, because those
Yeah.
people are eventually going to go, oh, I'm interested in this. Oh, by the way, you know, yeah, these are, that's where the real deal is. Okay.
Yeah, and the inside the community, you promote that too. It's like learn from what I'm doing. Don't reinvent the wheel. And
Yeah.
and
Start there,
yeah,
start, just do what I do, and then that's a great start. It's a better start than, you know not doing anything. I mean, that's why people are there, and I encourage that for sure. I want My goal is to find, I want to find people that I would love to see somebody come in and just blow my mind, and where I'm like, where I can say, can you show me how you did that? I want to, and and so yeah, I want to, there's always somebody out there doing something better than you. And and you're always going to be there's always going to be, if you share everything, and you give away the farm, and you show everybody your whole your back office, and you just are like, look, I have nothing to hide. You've just leveraged yourself as high as you can,
mhm,
um, because you put yourself in front of everybody else. Because what's going on in my head, I'm 3 steps ahead always, and the best thing I can do is keep people, uh, uh, give it all away, because you know it leverages you. I believe in that. Don't believe in competition and secrecy. That's You're going to get burned because someone
well,
else is already going to be blasting.
that's what you've shown over and over again, and you show it's the proof is in the pudding, man. It is working, right? People are attracted to that, and
Yeah,
and
they
you're
are.
and it's so clear. And
Yeah, and it keeps me out of, like, I don't it's a great position for me, and because there's no I don't have to get on stage and put on a little show and get on the spotlight and pretend to be something. I
right,
just show up like this and say, hey, let's just talk. Like, what I'm just human. I'm just learning. This is what I've done. Here's my numbers. This is button I push. This is the script I use. This is, and I learned that from somebody else that gave away the farm. And
mm,
I realized that I just had to, like, model that, and I did, and it worked, and I made a lot of money, and then realized that, you know you can help a lot of people by just giving them, everything. And it also really, like, cleanses you too, because then it opens up a creative void for me,
mm,
when I can, like, get give everything away, get all that information out. It moves me into more expansion, and I gather more information, use it, be creative with it, and just keep giving it out. And I think that works. I'm
yeah.
sure this isn't like some kind of, like, thing I discovered. This is just, I think, how people become, successful, or grow, or expand. And yeah, I'm
Well, it's
all about that, and I encourage that.
yeah, it's good to hear it from you because the people watching this are we're all learning what you're doing, and it's like how can we implement that? So it's just good to hear it from you. And I have a question here, Aaron, in the group. Um, if someone wants to start working in the AI filmmaking for brands today, right now, listening to this, what should they focus on first? Should they work on the skills, mindset, or their positioning?
Yeah. Let's see, skills, mindset, or positioning. I think it's like not the answer you want, but I feel like that all those cylinders need to fire at once because you do have to have the mindset to be confident, to put yourself out and put your work out. And you need to be honest with yourself and honest, not in a way where you're degrading yourself and saying, "Hey, I really suck at this, but here's my work." You have to say, "Hey, this is where I'm at. Check it out." Okay? Confidently. If you're a beginner, and then, the skill set is just like, that's just a given. Like you need the way you work on a skill set is by doing something over and over again. That's the only way to acquire a skill set.
Right.
It really is. Sorry to like, it's boring, but there's not, we don't, some people do have the it factor. There's the outliers in this world, but honestly, anyone can acquire a skill set. All you have to do is just put in the hours, and that means get up, and if you want to make AI films, like, you do it every day. If you can afford 2 hours, 6 hours, then you'll get better faster. If you can afford 20 minutes, I'm sure anybody can, you will get great skills in it. It just might take a year, or two or whatever. And so, yeah, but either way, it's just the consistency of doing it every day. So yes, that's my answer, is like do them all at once, but do them in bite-sized portions based on your lifestyle. But just do them. I mean, most people just don't do anything, especially
Right.
nowadays. And so
Right.
like just if you just like I see the people in the group in my other communities, and the people that actually just like start making stuff, and some people come in hot, they get a little momentum, like Casey or these other guys. I mean, and they like, and I know there's a gal now in one of my groups that she's just like, I'm like, who is this? She's all over the place, but what she's doing is she's actually doing something. She's not just watching tutorials and like, oh, it sounds fun. And where's the button, that the magic AI button on my computer or my phone that makes the video? It's like she's actually in there, like creating and loving it, and I'm like blown away. I'm seeing her skills develop and so quickly. So yeah.
I had another question here that I think we kind of answered it, but I just want to say it again. It's from Aaron. How do creatives connect with the brands without underpricing themselves or waiting for permission? I'll let you answer that. And I also, if I have answer for that too.
Yeah. So stick to your guns. Know up front where your minimum is, and do not fold from that.
Mm.
And be ready to say no. Even if you can't feed your kids. Be ready to just do it. Just say no. Um, and if you walk into any kind of a client meeting or a pitch or anything, not a pitch, but I'm not a fan of pitching. But if you walk into a interaction, a sales call, anything with a client, um, you're not there to have them tell you what you're going to get paid, as a creative. You need to know that number. It's your responsibility, or you do not belong on that call. And when you do, stand behind it. Do not fold. Be confident, even if you have to fake it and it's your first time and you're nervous. You just like brainwash yourself into doing that, and get off and feel that feeling of like, oh, did I blow it? Da, 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 and just walk away, leave it. And what you'll get is it's a win-win no matter what. Because if you don't get hired, it's a win. You do not want to be with that client. It's not a fit for multiple reasons. Okay, if you get the job, or not get the job, but if you end up like, they say great, whatever, do not get greedy. Do not think I should have done more. I should have said more. They just agreed so quickly. And this is why you're clear when you go into it, because then you can move past all the emotional stuff. It's a number. You pick a number, stick with it. For whatever reasons, what that number is. I can't tell you what that number is. I know what my number is, and it changes. Sometimes it's lower, sometimes it's higher. But I always in my gut know what that number is, and I go into it and I stick to it, whether I'm right or wrong. There's always another client around the corner. There's always another client. So this is not an end all thing. This is just like, And this is a great subject, and I love it because I've been in so many freelance deal. I mean, I've never technically had a real job besides when I was really young and cleaning golf clubs or doing those types of things. But like, I've gone 30 years as an entrepreneur, and everything's been one project to the next, and I deal with this, you know, every week. It's and it doesn't, I've learned it doesn't change either because you you think, oh, I've been doing this 25 years, but then if I'm in a financial crisis, that next meeting becomes a lot harder than the one where I'm like flowing and I'm like, what do you want? No, no, thank you. I'm not your guy, but what I learned is you got to operate that way. And, even when you're broke, you have to be like, I'm not your guy. That's one of my favorite sayings, because it's the hardest thing to
Yeah.
say, but if you approach that also gives you mutual level of appreciation, respect, and honestly, the best jobs I've done with clients have just been the most paid, the easiest job. It's the greatest level of creativity for me and flow and ease and deliver and everything, and just really high amounts that I just threw a number out there. They didn't even blink, and they loved it. They
Yeah.
loved the work. And
Yeah.
so that's how it works in the real world. So if you're thinking I'm going to go into this and this is the number, go, add a 50% to that, and just stick to your guns and just throw it out there. You can negotiate in the end, but honestly, I've noticed you don't need to negotiate much when you know your number. Okay, that's a long answer. Yeah, so Mike, tell me how you would answer that.
Yeah. So first of all, I agree with everything that you said. And one of the ways that I learned to be in control of my number and approach it with confidence was learning a proven sales system, and 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 not like there's a couple different ways out there, but one of the things that I learned that just changed the game for me was asking the customer questions. So instead of trying to, like, this is how I'm going to do it, I ask them questions that gets real clarity on what they want. And by asking them questions, they feel heard. And since it's very rare that people ask us questions and pull out of us what we really need and want, when we really feel heard, we're going to pay whatever they are asking, because it's the first time
Wow.
that we
Yeah.
really feel connected. It's like, wow, that's the first time anyone's really asked me what I really want out of this. I'm working with them. I'm paying 50% more.
Yeah, it's buying that emotional connection and experience more than even the job.
Yeah. And that's the
Yeah,
person I want to work with. And they're asking me all the right questions. And
yeah.
so,
Business is relational. I mean,
yeah,
right? I mean, 90% and if it's not a good place to be. There's a lot of red flags when it's not relational.
yeah, exactly. So we're down to the last question. If someone's hearing this interview and they're really fired up and they want to get involved, they want to learn more about AI ads and film, what's the first step? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, so I think the new community is a great way, to connect with me. It's much more relational than my other communities, right? So with the community that we talked about, the hiring community is a great way. The thing for me is, if somebody joins my community and DMs me, I respond to every single one of my DMs, because if that's just the way I see it. If someone's trusted me enough, give me their credit card, join my community, I'm going to talk to them because it's going to be a great conversation no matter what. The right energy's there.
Mhm.
Anybody that cold DMs me on Instagram or anything doesn't get talked to, period. And I won't do business with them. I won't do anything. So for me, the trusted people I know in this world are in my communities. They're somewhat the only people I trust, for the most, to a degree. So, anyways, if you want to get started, if you're interested in AI filmmaking, of course, $5 community, it's $5.
Hmm.
It's there to it's enough to kick you in gear and know you're serious and get in there. Ton of value to just get you warmed up and see, learn a bit about it and whatnot. And then from there, there's a lot of expansiveness of where to go. Whether it be, hey, I learned about this stuff. Maybe I want to hire some people now about it, or maybe I really want to learn this for myself in my own business. Maybe I want to just understand the marketing aspect, the storytelling aspect. And a lot of people are there just to watch what's being creative. I would say the majority of people in that community are there to just keep their thumb on the bleeding edge of what we're creating in there, and know that they're in the right spot to see the work being done, and expand your mind on the possibilities of AI video and AI filmmaking and where it's going. Because we're going to be, I'm going to be responsible of leading the forefront of AI filmmaking, um, and so I'll see you in there.
Definitely. That was great. Great conversation, and look forward to seeing you in the community.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.